Straight ahead on IU NewsNet, there's a new lawsuit on behalf of international students getting their student visas revoked. We'll tell you how many Indiana college students this affects so far.
A march and a protest greets Indiana Republican Senator Todd Young as he comes to Bloomington for a Republican-sponsored event. We'll tell you about tough questions he faced and how he answered voter concerns.
And Little 500 is a little more than a week away, and already there are interesting developments, including a freshman burning up the track. IU NewsNet starts now. Welcome to IU NewsNet. I'm Ava Fiermuga.
And I'm Razan Omar. We start with an update about the government action to strip students of their international student status.
That includes some students on the IU campus. IU NewsNet's Kelsey Peace joins us in the studio with the new development. Kelsey?
Thanks, guys. The new development is a lawsuit. First, some background. Last week, Provost Raul Srivastava confirmed that several international student visas at IU are being revoked. This week, the ACLU of Indiana announced it is filing a lawsuit against the U.S. Department of Homeland Security on behalf of 7 Indiana international students whose legal statuses have been terminated. According to the ACLU, 6 of the 7 students are from China and attend IU Indianapolis or Purdue University. 1 is from Nigeria and attends the University of Notre Dame. 2 of the students were set to graduate in May. This has created a sense of fear and uncertainty among international students here at IU, especially those planning to graduate. IU student Zoe Hu, whose face is concealed for her own safety, is one of them.
We are trying not to do anything around here. We don't even want to get a parking tickets. We don't want to go out to drink just in case.
Students with questions or concerns regarding their legal immigration status can visit IU's Office of International Services site. Ava, back to you at the desk.
The Big Ten isn't just a sports conference. The universities within the Big Ten have had an academic alliance since 1958, and now they're coming together to protect one another under Trump's policies. On April 8th, IU Bloomington's Faculty Council passed a resolution to form a mutual academic defense compact for the Big Ten Academic Alliance. The Rutgers University Senate passed the same resolution a few days prior to defend, quote, academic freedom, institutional integrity, and the research enterprise. But other Big Ten schools have not passed it yet. If the compact was established, its funds would be used to support any member institution facing political or legal infringement. This comes after universities nationwide have had funding and grants stripped by Trump for reasons ranging from antisemitism to civil rights investigations. It also comes after IU Luddy professor Xiaofeng Wang was fired the same day the FBI raided 2 homes he owned.
Former IU employees Xiaofeng Wang and his wife haven't been seen or heard from publicly since the FBI raided their homes and the university fired them. That is until this week. Professor Wang's wife, Nianli Ma, spoke Monday via Zoom at an Asian American scholar forum addressing the current political climate for Asian American scholars, such as her husband. Their son, Luke Wang, is raising money through GoFundMe to support the family's financial hardships while both of his parents are unemployed. The family could not be reached for comment, but on the GoFundMe page, their son Luke states, quote, "These months left us traumatized and confused. We are struggling to comprehend what we had done, to be treated as criminals by the country which my parents have contributed to for nearly 3 decades.
Indiana teachers rallied at the State House this week, protesting a new property tax bill that has since been signed by Governor Mike Braun. Senate Bill 1 gives homeowners up to a $300 tax credit starting in 2026, but school districts say the law could strip more than $700 million from public education over 3 years, leading to larger class sizes, fewer resources, and staff cuts. Other effects include a $150 credit for fixed-income seniors, a $250 credit for disabled veterans, charter schools get referendum tax funding starting in 2028, business tax exemption increased to $2 million, Counties may rise local income taxes up to 2.9%. Online portal created for property tax transparency.
Indiana Republican Senator Todd Young made his first public Indiana appearance since the new administration took over. It happened right here in Bloomington this week. It wasn't a town hall, it was a Chamber of Commerce event, but citizens used the appearance to stage a march and a protest. IU NewsNet's Olivia Wilson covered the event.
Enough is enough! Enough is enough!
Monroe County citizens gathered on Tuesday for a rally, protesting what they cite as Todd Young's inaction with the government.
Todd Young! Do your job! Todd Young! Do your job!
A job that they say needs to consider a slew of constituent concerns. Erica Stoner has personal ties to Medicaid.
My brother needed it, and my family needed it. He suffered a massive stroke, and we didn't, he needed around-the-clock care. And if we had not had that, it would have been devastating.
Protesters say they are gravely concerned about the erosion of rights through executive orders and about protecting democracy.
Say that we have a voice and we have a right to speak out, and that our rights are slowly being taken away, and that's very frightening.
The rally starts here at the Monroe County Courthouse, but in just a few minutes, the rally will march their way down the street and start to make their way to the Monroe Convention Center, where Todd Young is speaking at the Greater Bloomington Chamber of Commerce discussion. Inside, where he answered tough questions to a bit of a crowd response.
There aren't many things that I've encountered since I've been an elected official that are more popular among my constituents than Doge. Waste, fraud, and abuse. Except in Bloomington.
There were questions involving Doge overreach, tariffs, and the eventual sustainability of Medicaid and Social Security.
We can't keep lying about the state of these programs. They're not sustainable. Does it take bravery to speak facts to one's constituents? It shouldn't. Are we so weak as a civic culture? I don't believe we are.
But for the constituents outside,
I would love Todd Young to come out and speak to us in addition to the Chamber of Commerce, because Chamber of Commerce is certainly his constituents, and I'm proud of him for doing this event and showing his face and speaking with the Chamber. I would also like him to come out and show his face and speak to the constituents that are out here today.
The American people need to earn trust back from their institutions. Our leaders have really failed.
On that, there is agreement, but until the trust returns,
we'll protest until we die, unless there's nothing left to protest for. I do think that this is important, and I think this movement right now, America's waking up. Rural America's waking up.
For IU NewsNet, I'm Olivia Wilson.
A few days before Todd Young's appearance, some Democrats in Indiana's 9th District hosted what they called the People's Town Hall here in Bloomington, but the Congresswoman did not show. IU NewsNet's Nick Abel joins us in the studio with that story. Nick?
That's right. It happened Saturday. People gathered to express their frustrations and concerns with recent decisions in Washington, and they saved a seat for Congresswoman Erin Houchin, but it stayed empty. Bloomington City Hall was crowded with Indiana Democrats on Saturday. Constituents gathered to hear from their elected officials at both the local and state level. They saved a seat for their Congresswoman, Republican Erin Houchin, whose chair remained empty.
I find it very disheartening that our state house, especially, as well as many of my U.S. Congress and senators, who seem to disregard their constituents, and I feel abandoned by my elected officials.
Multiple Indiana Democratic leaders were in attendance, including State Representative and IU professor Matt Pierce and Bloomington City Council President Hopi Stosberg. Participants were concerned about the divisiveness facing America today.
I think that radicalization is at an all-time high. I feel like I've seen more people hate other people for what they think about policies and laws in the past year than I have seen people argue about it in the past 5. The environment of it right now is very you're one side or the other. And I think that is what's causing a lot of the scares that we see.
The Democrats who met inside City Hall behind me were concerned with the changes being made at the national and state levels of government. but have faith in the democratic process because they can attend events like these, where they can learn plans for the future.
It makes me reassured that I feel like there's a very specific plan in mind on how we're going to lead the future of the Democratic Party here in Bloomington, and how confident each member was in talking about what they have a plan for the future.
A future they wanted to discuss with the Republican Congresswoman who wasn't there to hear it. Republican members of Congress are being encouraged by their leadership not to hold town hall meetings with disgruntled constituents upset about government cuts and overreach. One exemption was Indiana Republican Congresswoman Victoria Spartz, who faced voters in a spirited town hall earlier this month. Now back to you.
When we come back, students will soon no longer be able to use their student IDs as identity proof to vote. We'll tell you what's behind Indiana's new, more restrictive voting law.
Plus, we'll hear from some Jewish students here on campus who say anti-Semitism prevention has actually gone too far. Their perspective when we come back.
The federal investigation into anti-Semitism at Indiana University is still underway. But this week, the Anti-Defamation League, a national organization that combats hate and anti-Semitism, raised IU Bloomington's grade for its efforts to address the issue.
IU NewsNet's Jack Passett spoke with Jewish students who say the claims behind the investigation may be misrepresented and that criticism of Israel is being wrongly equated with anti-Semitism.
After last spring's pro-Palestinian protest in Dunmeadow, where students voiced opposition to Israel's actions, state and federal leaders, including the Trump administration, labeled these demonstrations as anti-Semitic. But some Jewish students here at IU say those claims missed the mark.
Obviously, as a Jew, I care deeply about anti-Semitism, but the designation of these universities, ourselves, Columbia, and a number of others, as anti-Semitic by the Trump administration is really patently just a very cynical political move. It is not grounded in reality.
Students argue the push to equate pro-Palestinian advocacy with anti-Semitism is misleading and dangerous.
It's completely equating anti-Semitism to Palestine advocacy, when we as Jews, that's not actually the risks that we face.
I think it's really important that Jews of conscience, if you will, or anti-Zionist Jews make sure that their voices are heard, because there is this rhetoric that anti-Zionism just equals anti-Semitism, which is not true.
Now a group of Jewish students is creating a space for a different kind of Jewish identity, one that separates faith from politics.
I just want to be Jewish without Israel, but there's no place for that right now, and I think there's a lot of students who feel the same, who are interested in coming out and experiencing that.
The group called Jewish Voice for Peace aims to practice their faith free of Zionism, while also standing in solidarity with Palestinians amid the ongoing war.
Jewish Voice for Peace is promoting a new vision, which is the fact that, we as Jews, our safety does not depend on the ethnic cleansing of Palestine, on the dispossession of the Palestinian people.
Members say they're creating an alternative space, one where Jewish tradition, identity, and social justice can coexist.
We want an anti-Zionist space to practice our faith, to practice our culture without having the sort of looming Israeli presence, if you will.
Reporting for IU NewsNet, I'm Jack Bassett.
It's the law now. You can no longer use your student ID as proof of identity in Indiana to vote. Governor Mike Brown signed a new law that blocks college-issued IDs from being used at the polls, even at schools like IU. Lawmakers who backed the bill say it tightens ID rules, but many worry it makes it harder for young voters to cast ballots. Students must now obtain a state-issued ID, such as a driver's license or a passport, in order to cast their ballots.
Indiana U.S. Senator and IU alumnus Jim Banks has introduced a bill to strip all federal funding from national public radio affiliates. That would affect public TV and radio stations across the country and right here in Bloomington. IU NewsNet's Parise Payton joins us with the story. Parise?
Yeah, thanks, Ava. If it becomes law, it would financially cripple WTIU, Bloomington's PBS TV station, as well as WFIU, the radio station right here on the IU campus. Here's a look at what is motivating the proposed funding cut.
This is not not a news outlet. They don't deserve our taxpayer dollars. In fact, it's un-American.
That's Indiana Senator Jim Banks speaking out against NPR, National Public Radio. Banks has been vocal about his belief that the organization leans too far left and that federal funding should be cut.
I think that NPR News is one of the few places left that tries to cover all sides of an issue and not just push a point of view.
But the senator's stance may be more personal than political.
Well, Senator Banks had an unfortunate exchange with NPR when they covered him in a story, and he didn't like the coverage. And since then, he's been extremely critical.
Tensions date back to a 2019 NPR interview when Banks falsely claimed California Senator Adam Schiff helped plan the Trump whistleblower complaint. NPR later corrected him.
We feel we must note that Congressman Banks did not accurately describe the New York Times reporting about Congressman Schiff and the whistleblower's complaint. The Times quoted a spokesman for Congressman Schiff who said Schiff never saw any part of the complaint or knew precisely what the whistleblower would deliver.
Since then, Banks has continued to call for defunding NPR, citing what he sees as bias. But others argue the network plays an important role in independent journalism.
News would be the most affected right away because NPR maintains bureaus around the world, and I think there'd be less coverage of issues that are important to Americans.
Group YouGov ranks PBS the nation's third most trusted news source behind the BBC and the Weather Channel. Senator Banks did not respond to our request for further comment. Now, back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Paris. A Bloomington nonprofit that is big on fighting the issue of hunger is now facing a supply deficit. This comes just 2 weeks after they lost some federal funding. The U.S. Department of Agriculture canceled $500 million worth of food deliveries, directly affecting Hoosier Hills. The food bank says this amounts to a loss of nearly 62,000 pounds of food. Hoosier Hills helps provide food to Monroe, Lawrence, Brown, Orange, Martin, and Owen County. Hoosier Hills is doubling down on fundraising efforts to make up for the deficit.
With measles cases rising in the U.S. and 6 cases now reported in Indiana, Monroe County is gearing up to help combat the spread. On Monday, the Monroe County Health Department will host a mobile measles vaccine clinic at the Ellettsville branch of the Monroe County Public Library. The clinic is open to unvaccinated individuals of all ages. Most people get the MMR vaccine in 2 doses, the first at 12 to 15 months and the second at 4 to 6 years old. The clinic will be held from noon to 6 p.m.
Speaking of free things, how about a free bike tune-up? The little 500 is just a couple weeks away, but it's not just the racers who need a tune-up on their bikes. IU NewsNet's Isaac Perlish has the story.
From chewed-up chains to tired tires, bikes, especially in Bloomington, go through a lot of wear and tear. Nobody knows this better than Greg Suter.
It's tight.
The month of April is Bike Month. To celebrate, he did what he does best, fixing bikes for free.
Everybody's so appreciative of the help we give them, even though we don't have a lot of parts here to help them out. We do a lot of the regular maintenance that gets neglected, I'll say.
One of those bikes belonged to Angela Tharp. She noticed an issue with the gears on her bike, which she only rides
as long as it's 60 degrees and up.
Suter found a bent screw,
That one is the wrong direction.
quickly fixing the problem.
The month of April and bikes are nothing new for Greg Suter, as he's usually here at Bill Armstrong Stadium. That's right, he's also a mechanic for the Little 500.
The free bike repair event was a partnership between IU's Transportation Demand Management and its Office of Sustainability. For someone like Tharp,
Oh, it was so easy and so nice. Hugely appreciative, and gosh, the people were fantastic.
For Suter, he's just glad there are bikes to fix.
I'd rather see them ridden and used than sitting in a garage.
It's a change of pace from race day.
2 hours of enjoyment and just a few minutes of hair raising, get it done as fast as you can.
A familiar face
There it is.
at a brand new event,
I had this in my shop.
serving the community
Really appreciate it.
one bike at a time.
Bike mechanic Greg Suter is on a first-name basis with hundreds of little 500 riders over the years. He'll be especially busy next weekend, the 25th and 26th, for the men's and women's Little 500 races.
When we come back, we'll check in on the Little 500 preparations. Plus, we'll get our first look of the new class of IU football transfers.
Plus, baseball returned home after a weekend trip to Illinois. We'll tell you how they fared versus Indiana State. Stay with us. Welcome back. Darren DeVries has been busy building his first roster at Indiana.
And the Hoosiers have been making waves in the transfer portal as they enter a new era on the hardwood. Nick Rodecap joins us with sports. Nick?
Thanks, guys. As portal season moves along, Indiana men's basketball continues to build its roster. Head coach Darren DeVries landed his biggest transfer recruit so far, securing a commitment from Sam Houston State transfer guard Lamar Wilkerson on Tuesday. A first-team All-Conference USA performer last season, Wilkerson chose Indiana over Kentucky, Duke, and Alabama. He was top 10 in the nation with over 20 points per game on 44.5% three-point shooting last year and scored 18 points when the Bearcats visited Assembly Hall last December. Wilkerson joins fellow transfers Tatum Connerway, Josiah Miles, Reed Bailey, Tucker DeVries, and Connor Enright, along with incoming freshman Trent Sisley. The Hoosiers now have 7 scholarship players on their roster, with Luke Goody's eligibility waiver still pending. Shifting now to the Diamond, Indiana baseball fell to Indiana State on Tuesday. The Hoosiers got mercy ruled on Sunday in Illinois, and their search for answers was unsuccessful earlier this week. After using small ball to its advantage versus Michigan State 2 weeks ago, Indiana got a taste of its own medicine against Indiana State on Tuesday night. The Sycamores took down the Hoosiers 7-5, and 10 of their 11 hits were singles. They took advantage of 8 walks issued by Indiana pitchers while shutting down one of the Big Ten's most dangerous lineups.
They didn't give us freebies. We gave them some freebies, and then they were able to find some holes and execute. And they did a good job with it. It's hard, but it's a hard game. It's a hard sport. You just got to keep showing up and get back to work. We need to practice and coming off the road trip, and we'll get back to work tomorrow and go back through it. But yeah, it's frustrating and it's hard. But like everything else in life, it's just frustrating and hard. So you just got to show back up and go back to it.
Now sitting at 20-17 on the season, Indiana hosts Maryland this weekend, and the Hoosiers will have to shake off the frustration and start stacking series wins in short order if they want to avoid missing the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2022. Indiana football fans can catch the team in action at Memorial Stadium tonight. The Hoosiers will host a spring game for the second time in as many years, with Curt Cignetti at the helm. The action begins at 8 p.m., and admission is free. Fans will get an early look at some of the highly touted transfers who enter the fold for the 2025 season, including Cal transfer quarterback Fernando Mendoza and Maryland transfer running back Roman Hemby, who join returning stars like wide receiver Elijah Surratt, linebacker Aiden Fisher, and defensive back D'Angelo Pons. Other Big Ten programs like Ohio State, Nebraska, and USC have canceled their spring games, but Cignetti views it as another opportunity to improve.
Actions speak louder than words. The fact that, we're going to go through with it, that's what I believe. And I don't really have an opinion about other people canceling their spring games. And it's not on TV. It's just another practice.
After last year's record-breaking 11-win campaign, anticipation is as high as it's ever been for football season, which kicks off on August 30th when the Hoosiers host Old Dominion. Next week is the weekend we've all been waiting for, what is billed as the greatest college weekend of all time, the Little 500. So far, this year's Little 500 events have taken the community by surprise. Last week, Little 500 riders competed in the spring series events that lead up to the big race in April. This year looked a little different. Due to extreme weather earlier this month, most events were crammed into just 5 days. Missing outs, an elimination-style race, and team pursuit, which showcases team depth, both took place over the weekend. Women's individual time trials were held last Wednesday, and they made history. IU freshman Libby Lewis became the first ever freshman to win ITTs in either the men's or women's field.
If I got top 10, I'd be happy, and I really didn't expect to win, if I'm being honest. But, you know, each practice, my teammates and I, we just work so hard. So, I mean, I don't know. It was really awesome.
Lewis rides for her sorority, Alpha Chi Omega, but she isn't the first of her family to compete in the Little 500. Her father, Corey Lewis, raced and won for Phi Gamma Delta in 1995. Her mother, Erin Lewis, rode for Kappa Alpha Theta, who also won that same year. Libby and her team claimed the Spring Series title this weekend after placing well in missing outs and winning team pursuit. That's all for sports this week. Razan and Ava, back to you at the desk.
One more thing before we go, a powerful and colorful tribute to Indiana's Native American cultural heritage.
For the 13th year, IU hosted its traditional pow-wow at Wilkinson Hall. It was a full day of music, dancing, and celebration, honoring Native American culture and community. Crowds watched authentic performances by nationally known singers and dancers. There was also traditional food, clothing, and homemade crafts to explore. The event was put on by IU's First Nations Educational and Cultural Center with help from campus and community partners. This event was not only a celebration of heritage, but a chance to connect through culture.
It's really hard to find community, especially within Native community, and especially in Indiana, which land of Indians. But I'm really appreciative that Indiana University takes the time and effort and helps us put on an event like this, so we don't feel so alone. It's such it's kind of like an oasis almost.
Organizers of the pow-wow hope that the event fosters awareness and connections throughout the Bloomington community. For more information about the upcoming events, visit the First Nations Educational and Cultural Center at firstnations.indiana.edu. That's it for IU NewsNet for now. We have a behind-the-scenes student production team in the control room and working in the studio for this broadcast. We thank them and we thank you for watching. I'm Razan Omar.
And I'm Ava Fiermuga. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at IU NewsNet and on the IU Media School YouTube channel. Take care, and we will see you next week.